Hello and welcome to the Olive Press. My name is Emily Bacon and I am here with Deborah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just start at the beginning, really.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Southern California.
What part did you grow up in?
I grew up in the Ontario area.
I'm going to move that a little closer to you.
Sure. I grew up in the Ontario area.
Okay.
And I was not raised Catholic. I met my husband when I was 19, and we were working at Borders. I don't know if you...
Oh, I love Borders.
Yeah, I know.
We used to have one here.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, you know where Ulta is on 95?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That used to be at Borders.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know. We miss it. I mean, but we met at Borders. So we started dating. We were finishing up school. And I ended up converting right before we got married.
Oh, wow.
So I was never baptized or anything. So I did the whole thing on Easter Vigil. And then we got married that July. And that was in 2008.
Wow. So did you guys... enter the Catholic Church in the Novus Ordo, or was
he was cradle Catholic, so
okay.
So I just entered the church myself.
Oh, it was just you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's real funny because we had this whole, and I didn't know anything. And growing up in Southern California, I thought that all Catholics were Hispanic, which is like so hilarious because obviously that's not true at all. And I had no idea what I was even thinking, but I just. Everyone that I knew that was Catholic, it was mostly Hispanics where I grew up. So everyone that was Catholic was Hispanic. So I just, as a naive person, I was like,
that's so
they're
funny.
all. But so we went to a parish that was very traditional. So they had Novus Ordo, but I could not differentiate really between the Latin Mass that they had there and the Novus Ordo.
Okay.
Except that it was in Latin. I didn't really. Until we then went to a church that was a little bit wild with the band and all of that kind of stuff. And so I was baptized at in a Novus Ordo Mass.
Sweet. That's awesome. Me too.
Oh.
So where is Ontario? Because I'm from Camarillo, kind of near Ventura.
It's about 40 miles, I guess, east of LA.
Okay.
So like if you were on the way to like Palm Springs, you would kind of drive.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Past it. I mean,
I'm kind of visualizing it. Yeah. My grandparents are from Huntington Beach.
Okay.
So
about an hour or so from there.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's the airport. I mean, the Ontario airport's there, so it's kind of.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So.
Wow. So what brought you guys up here then?
A lot of things.
Okay.
We came up for my husband when he turned 40. We came up for his birthday. He wanted to check it out.
Cool.
He grew up kind of going to SSPX parish, and so a lot of people were moving up here. Mm-hmm. And so he had always knew of this place. Like he'd always heard about, so-and-so family moved up. So he was like, I want to go see this place. I've heard it's real beautiful. And we came and we were like, oh my goodness, we want to raise our children here. So that was in 2018. So we were trying to figure out, how do we move? How do we do this? How do we uproot our whole life and our kids and everything? Do we get a house? Do we get a job? Like, what is the proper way to go about doing this, And we couldn't figure it out. We came up again in 2019, and we were like, and the prices already started to go up for houses. And we were like, we missed the boat. We're not going to be able to make it happen. And I left so sad because we just really fell in love. We actually went to St. John's when it was over in Coeur d'Alene.
Oh man.
Yeah. So we went to Mass there, and we're like, this place is just like so nice.
Yeah.
And then we went home really sad, and then COVID hit. So and kind of like Angie said, California just kind of went absolutely insane, and we were just at wit's end with everything. We took a big road trip though, and that summer we were like, we have to get out of here, and we have other places to explore and kind of see. So we drove up through Wyoming and over to North and South Dakota, and we kind of went I don't even remember how many states it was. We were gone for almost a month just driving around, and we got a really good idea of just how crazy California really was, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these things were put into perspective. We were able to see different areas also that had Latin Mass, because that was obviously what we were looking for to move.
Right.
And we were like, Idaho just has our heart. We have to make it happen. So we came home from that trip, and we met a realtor when we were up here in 2019, and we called her, and we ended up finding a house that was like on the market. It was like the last thing, and I don't know. It was like God kind of lined everything up, and it just worked out. So
dang. So you guys moved up during COVID then?
We did. It was October of 2020. So we've been here about 2.5 years. Yeah.
Cool. Wow.
Once we called the realtor and we kind of got the ball rolling, it was like a freight train just kind of took us, and we were just hanging on. It was wild.
Yeah.
We sold our house. We lived with our my husband's parents for about 6 weeks, I think.
Okay.
We had 3 dogs and 3 kids.
Man.
It was a time.
Wow. Dang. So when you guys went on that trip, what was it like during COVID, at least in all of these different states? Like, were the restrictions different, or were they?
From California, everywhere was different.
Yeah.
I mean, we made like a spreadsheet. Our goal was to go to national parks, right? We were like, we're just gonna go outside. We'll do things outside because that will be the less restrictive.
Right.
So, New Mexico was still closed. They had the caverns. They would not let anyone go in there, so that national park was closed. Yeah, it was weird. But most of the places were pretty normal. We went to Oklahoma City.
Oh.
And then in like 2 days, they were going to like institute a mask policy and do all these weird things. And we're like, I don't know. It was more or less the country was pretty normal. And when we came home, we were driving back in, because we had lived up in the desert. We grew up in the Ontario area. And my husband was working in Barstow, I don't know, on the way to Las Vegas. It's in the middle of the desert.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we were driving back in, and our son had to go to the bathroom. So we pulled into the gas station, and they were like, you can't enter without a mask. And I was like, there was no mask. I mean, we had been gone for a month.
Yeah.
Like, this was not what happened when we left. Like, what is going on? So that was like the last straw. Like, we can't even take our kid to the bathroom without a mask on. Like, it was, I mean, it was just wild. So
yeah, I one time I was taking my daughter to the doctors, and they had the drive-in, the curbside, for people that had symptoms of COVID, which is like sniffles and cough and allergies. Like, and the thing that like freaked me out the most was it's a doctor's office. Right. There's people that are gonna be sick all the time.
That's the point, right?
Right, exactly. So I'm like, okay. And I really had to go to the bathroom so bad. Or no, I think I was actually just pregnant with Gianna. I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and it was so hot. And I'm like, can I please go in and go to the bathroom? And they're like, you can't because you have a cough. And I'm like, I'm going to murder every single one of you.
Yeah.
Like, it was so ridiculous. And people were crazy about it. Like, up here, it wasn't as crazy as California. But still, there were some that were just like, mask, mask, mask. And it's like, you're still getting sick.
Yeah, even still, I mean, to this day, our doctor's office is like, put a mask on. I'm like, but the minute we walk out into the community, none of us are wearing a mask. So I'm not quite sure at this point what that's all about.
Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's just for people's like peace of mind almost. I don't know. It's like mass delirium almost, where, and like we, up here, I mean, people hiked all the time, and like masks, man, I can't remember. I think masks were required like in the stores as well.
Okay.
For a little while. Not very long though.
Yeah, I think because my husband came up in July of 2020 to like look at the house and stuff because it was being built. And he was like, no one's wearing a mask.
Yeah.
But then obviously the plane and everything else, and then by the time we moved, masks were required in the stores and things. So it
here
was,
yeah. So, and then with
but not for long. I don't feel like it was.
People stopped. Like, I think they were just like, no. They just didn't, and they didn't enforce it. Like, there were some people that get kind of like huffy about it, but I mean, people were pretty pretty against them. And
right.
But like in the hospitals, you know, I mean, they wouldn't let visitors in to visit people.
Well, my husband actually got COVID really bad.
Oh, really?
He ended up getting hospitalized, and we couldn't go see him or anything, obviously.
Like, you couldn't go and see him?
No.
Oh, well, yeah, COVID.
Yeah, no, he was in the COVID unit.
Wow. Here at Kootenai?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
we had our neighbor work there, so he was able to kind of go see him, but no, he was in there just like pretty isolated.
Oh my gosh.
He was in there for a week, yeah.
When was that?
That was, it was right after he started work. It was in September of 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was awful.
How long was he in there for?
A week.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it was. He was at home sick for a while, and we could not get help for anything. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. And then he ended up coming home, and he was on oxygen for a while. And
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And we're not sure. I mean, like he's not really super old, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was really stressed out because he had just started this job, and I don't know if that played. I mean,
what does he do for work?
He's a teacher.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Where is he? Is he at one of the high
he's
school?
at Lakeland High School.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I had a lot of friends that went there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He really likes it. It's a good school.
It's in Rathdrum, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So he had it the first day of school, and then like the next day he had a fever.
Oh, man.
So he was all stressed out, right? The first day, like brand new job, and so he spent the first month of school out because he was so sick.
Oh,
it was rough.
Gosh,
it was quite rough, but
wow.
Praise God.
He's here, and
yeah.
Wow. So how does he like his teaching job?
He likes it. He struggles with the public school system, but
yeah.
He likes the school better than the school he was at before.
Because he was a teacher in California as well.
Yeah, okay. He was. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what's the difference, I guess? I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of them, but like, what's the main difference that he's noticed since coming up here versus California in regards to teaching, at least?
I think the students, the attitude and their behavior and stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
They're more respectful here than they were.
Good.
Yeah, so I know while it's not ideal, it's better than where we came from. So.
Right. I almost wonder, I don't know how teachers like handle what's going on in California currently.
No, I don't know. I mean, he thought, if we would have stayed there, he would have had to find a different profession because he wouldn't have been able to. With
all the, I mean, everybody kind of knows what's going on with that. But like, I've seen that libs of TikTok, and I'm like, how in the heck? Like, and there was actually one that really just like hurt me a lot when I saw it. It was this teacher that put on this scary, scary mask, like, the Scream.
Yes.
Did you see that video?
Chasing, like, the preschool
kids. Yes. And they were crying, and they were so terrified. And I saw that, and, like, I was crying when I watched it.
I know, it's awful.
Every single face I saw, I'm like, that's Gianna,
Yeah.
And I'm like, that teacher would permanently look like that if I could get to her. Like, it was ridiculous.
No, it's wild. It's wild what's going on there.
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys are up here so you could escape that.
Oh, my gosh.
My goodness.
Well, and we lived an hour from our church, so we drove an hour for like 10 years to get to a Latin mass. There was not one closer to us. Every now and then, if we were sick, we would just trade off with attending like the local church, but we always left like, oh my gosh, what just happened? What was that?
No, I feel you. Like, there was a church that I went to in Huntington Beach, and the church was under renovation, so they had their mass in like the rec center or whatever. Excuse me. And anyway, when they did the consecration, nobody kneeled.
Yeah.
They all stood, and I knelt. I'm like, that's God.
Yeah.
I don't care if my knees are hurting because of the linoleum. You give them respect because that's literally God, Right. And so, and my husband wasn't Catholic at the time.
Oh, he converted too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he converted right before we got married.
Okay.
So we did our marriage prep, and he did his catechism at the same time. So
yeah, that's kind of how it happened with us.
Yeah, it was actually really helpful. It was cool. But he didn't understand, like, well, he was like, it's kind of cute, actually. He's like, well, you just follow the customs of the place that you go. And I'm like, the custom is to kneel.
Right.
Catholic is Catholic.
Right.
Mass is mass, you know. And so, but now he understands that, you know. But
right.
I was like, I was really angry. I'm like, oh, California.
Yeah. Well, the one church that we lived by that was like 10 minutes down the street, they had a cowbell like in their.
A cowbell?
I'm pretty sure they had like some sort of bell that they would ring like with the choir. Like they didn't have a choir, right? They had like a band.
Yeah.
And they would like do 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 it. My son. I mean, we're trying to go to a Latin mass, so then we go there, and he's like, "Was that even a Catholic church? Like, what's happening?"
Man.
We're like, "Our son even knows. Our kids get it. Like, what is going on?" So,
have you ever seen that the video, the SNL, like, we need more cowbell?
yes.
I think I would only think about that if I was at that mass. I'd be like,
too much. Yeah. And
need more cowbell. Less cowbell.
It's like no cowbell, but it's yeah. So we drove an hour every week. So that was one of our criteria. Obviously, we would like to have land and be kind of away from the city and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're like 9 minutes right now from church, and it's
that's awesome.
nice. Yeah. So,
oh man.
So we're able to get involved, and the kids are able to do stuff. And
yeah.
the church that we went to before was kind of a commuter church because everyone who wanted to go. I mean, I think people drove like an hour and a half. Like that was not unusual. So there was not a community. There was nothing where we could have the kids involved in because we had to just drive so far, and it was just kind of a lot. But because we had to go up and over a mountain pass actually to get to,
my gosh.
It was a lot. And then they did catechism on Sundays, and so the way it was going to work out is after your first communion, I don't remember exactly, but the catechism class was during the Latin Mass, so he wouldn't have been able to go to Latin. It was really,
that's interesting.
It was because everyone drove from so far, so they weren't able to.
Was it FSSP?
No, it was just like a diocesan.
Oh, cool.
Parish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So how old are your kids?
We have a 10-year-old, almost 7, and a 6-year-old.
Wow. Awesome.
I mean, almost 8. Sorry, almost 8-year-old.
I was gonna say, I mean, that's cool. I mean, if they're 11 months apart or whatever.
Don't tell her I said that.
Yeah, no. She'll hear it from you anyway if she listens to the podcast.
She's gonna be 8 in a couple months, and
that's
she's very
awesome.
Excited about that.
Wow, 8's a good age.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So they've kind of made a lot of friends and like embedded in the community.
They have. Cool. I mean, yeah, they have. My son does the troops, and our girls do the Little Flowers, and they're in ballet, and I mean, my son plays basketball.
Nice.
And, yeah, we're involved, and
awesome.
They keep us busy.
Yeah, man.
A different kind of busy that you have, but
eventually we'll get there.
It's still busy.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So do they get along really well?
They do. They do. We homeschool, so they're together a lot, and
nice.
It's a big juggling game, but they do more or less.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm the oldest of 4.
Okay.
And we didn't homeschool. Like we were public school. My 2 youngest siblings are still in school actually.
Okay.
But it's funny because as we got older, we started to get along a little more. Like looking back when I was like 10 or whatever, we hated each other. So eventually, if they don't get along now, like they'll get along eventually.
Yeah, it's interesting because I just have one sister, so
nice.
We fought a lot. We did not get along well. We did, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to have now more children than I grew up with, and kind of seeing how all that works. It's interesting.
Right. Yeah. And I look at some of these moms that have like 8 kids.
I know.
I'm like, how have they not killed each other? And how have they not killed you? Like, I just think they're heroes. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's
pretty amazing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Well, like Gianna and Finnegan, they're like 4 kids in one, essentially, like each. I feel like I have 8 kids sometimes. I'm like,
well, we say that about one of ours too. Like, it's like 6 in 1.
Yeah.
So also like we have 8 kids.
Yeah. Oh man, my grandma had 13.
Oh.
And I'm like,
wow.
You are amazing. Like,
That
and
is.
she's 86. She's gonna be 87 this year. Oh my gosh. I'm like, girl.
13 kids.
That's a lot.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful, but it's, I mean, that must have been maddening, I think.
Maybe at times, yeah.
Yeah.
Until you have, I think, like 7, like our daughter, she is so helpful, and she loves to do all the things. She likes to help with the laundry and making lunch and doing all this stuff. So I think once your oldest is about, you're good.
Yeah.
Have a helper.
Well, it's kind of nice that they're close in age, Finnegan and Gianna, because they'll kind of like start being helpful around the same time.
Yeah.
And like they'll kind of reach milestones at the same time. Like I'm going to potty train Gianna before Finnegan. But still, I mean, it's kind of nice because they're so close that it's like they'll kind of understand things around the same time. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Wow, that's so awesome. So when they do like little flowers, did you guys have little flowers and like?
No.
Oh, really?
No, there was nothing at our parish before. Since we've moved, I think they're trying to build some communities. So they do have a troops chapter or something there that our family still attends. So we hear about all of these things that they have now. But there was nothing before.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing.
No, we're really blessed by this church. I mean, we both go to adoration. I mean, it's just it's nice.
I think I take it for granted because I mean, I think from what Father Eichmann said, this is the only parish in the country that has Eucharistic adoration, like perpetual adoration. And we have the Carmelites, and we have the Dominicans, and we have this and that, and like it's amazing.
I feel like we haven't tapped in to it as much. I mean, we still haven't been to visit the Carmel down. That we haven't. We want to.
It's beautiful,
but I don't know. We haven't tapped in fully.
Yeah.
But
it's cool. The Carmel is is hidden. It's kind of like hard to find.
Yeah. We've driven by and I'm like, I don't exactly know where it is. I mean, I know the other one is very clearly.
Yeah.
But we can't. Yeah, I don't know.
It's hidden. It's hard to find, which I guess fits like the theme of Carmelites and everything. But they you can go in and you can just like write like a prayer intention, which is cool. I wanted to put Finnegan in the turnstile for them to hold him because my grandma used to do that because they were really good friends with the Carmelites, and they have this my grandma has this beautiful crucifix, like handmade crucifix, hand painted, from the Carmelites in Buffalo, New York. I think I said that, or my mom said that in her podcast. And they'd put their babies in the turnstile so the nuns could hold them. Just
that is so cool.
It was really cool. So I'm like, I want to so bad. But I think actually they stopped doing that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why.
I don't even know what that looks like to imagine putting a baby.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can kind of, but in the turnstile, I'm like, I don't want his fingers to get stuck.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, it was the 70s, so that makes sense. Like, why they would allow that. Now they're just like, no, don't do that. But no, they're really cool. Like, we're in contact with them. Like, we
good. I know we need
send letters.
We need to do something. I mean,
yeah, it's cool. It's cool to have their contact, and the Dominicans are part of the SSPX actually.
Right.
Yeah. So that school, I almost went to that school actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't. I've heard it's a hard school.
Yes, I have too.
And it is SSPX, which like we didn't really know what that meant at the time.
Right.
But now we do, and I mean the nuns are beautiful regardless.
Right.
I mean nuns are nuns. So, but I've actually met some of the Carmelites too.
Okay, well that's cool.
Yeah, like they came out for medical reasons, and I met them. I was their medical assistant, and I'm like, I have to give you a hug because I'm never gonna meet you again. Like,
right?
It's crazy that they just spend that time back there.
Cloistered.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, how did you end up becoming Catholic? Like, what was your main?
Well, it's really interesting. I knew that this was going to come up, and I was like, how am I going to explain this? I always felt, I did not grow up with any faith. My mom tried to get us to go to church a couple times, like for Easter, when I was in high school. And at that point, I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are we doing this? You've never done this before in our life. And my sister and I gave her a hard time about that, which is not very nice. But I did go to like a preschool that was Christian based, and then nothing for like 10 years. So
Wow.
it was real interesting. So I always wanted to like figure things out. I wanted to go to church. I felt like later I would go with like friends, to like youth group or whatever. But Protestant churches didn't sit right with me. And I would ask questions. Well, what do you believe? What is this? And no one could give me any answers. Like no one really knew anything, And then I went through like a period of agnosticism, I guess, kind of like early college. And then I met my husband, Mike, and he started taking me to mass.
Nice.
Started taking me to mass, and I remember one time he took me, and I left crying. I think we were already engaged, and I was like, what is happening? Like, if we have kids, how are we ever gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna tell them. Like, what is going on? And I was kind of freaked out because, like I said, we were engaged, I believe, at that point. We were engaged for like 2 years before we got married, so I'm sure we were. And I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to be a mom to children and do this? So he started giving me lessons, actually.
Nice.
So he started like printing stuff out, and we would do lessons. And then we had some stuff going on in the family, and I think his grandpa passed away, and just the way the family dealt with that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's very interesting. Yeah. So I started the RCIA classes.
Okay, yeah.
And they had answers, right?
Oh, wow.
Like all of the things that I'm always like, what do you believe? They're like, all of the things. And it just, so
that sounds almost identical to how Teddy
really
converted. Yeah. So he was Christian. Like, he was raised Christian.
Okay.
But he had the same complaint about Protestant churches, that they never had the answers. It was like very fluffy puffy.
Exactly.
And they just always like, they just never, they were never able
There was no substance. Like it,
right.
Yeah.
Those are the exact words that he said. It's like, you can't live on just eating marshmallow fluff.
Right.
Is how he likes to describe it.
Yeah.
And so, and like everybody's always geared up all the time, and like I took him to Latin Mass for the first time. So like we met on Tinder, and then we, which is crazy. Anyway, so, and then he was like, I told him I was Catholic. He had asked me to be his girlfriend like the day after our first date. I'm like, no, you need to go to Mass first. And so he's like, all right. And so I gave him the option of going to like English Mass or Latin Mass. And he's like, which one do you normally go to? I'm like, Latin Mass. He's like, all right, I'll go to Latin Mass. And I took him to a high Mass. I don't remember that I took him to a high Mass. He loved it.
Oh my gosh.
And he read the catechism the night before he went to Mass to know about it.
He was in.
Yeah. And so I was like, and he had asked my dad if he could marry me like in December. So we started dating in like August, yeah. And he asked my dad in December, and my dad said no. He's like, you need to become Catholic, or not become Catholic, but go to catechism,
to start the process.
Yeah. So but he had the same complaint where he's like, I just could never get answers to the questions that I had.
Yeah. And it's not like I went to church a lot, but I would talk with friends, and we would kind of talk about things and this, and no one knew anything.
Yeah.
Like, it was really weird to me. And when I would go to a Protestant church, it just felt like weird, right? Everyone singing with their hands up, and I don't know. It just never sat right.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean the same with Teddy. I mean, he came into the Mass and he's like, that's it. You know, that's it right there. Like, and I think that that's backed up with like 2,000 years of experience.
Right, exactly.
I'm not trying to say that like Protestant people are, problematic or anything. I love Protestant people. I mean, they're more engaging than Catholics a lot of times.
Right.
I mean, if we could
and they're so passionate about their faith. Yeah.
If we could adopt the passion that Protestants have, like, the world would be on fire. It would be amazing. And God bless them for having that passion, you know. And but no, I mean, I wish that we just like all had, I guess, the same mentality about all of it. And I mean, we used to.
Right.
But I wish that people could just realize, like, there's so many answers.
Well, the whole thing of, like, a non-denominational church, like, how do you...
What does that even mean?
Yeah, because how do you all just go to a non-denominational church and then
Right.
where do you stand on anything? I don't know. It just was always I didn't agree with that, so.
Yeah. So what was the biggest thing, like, what was the biggest hurdle, I guess, when you were converting that you kind of had to grasp?
I don't know that there really was one. I had a really awesome teacher. She was just phenomenal, and she had homework and all the stuff. So I was in college still, and probably the biggest hurdle, it probably wasn't anything of the teaching. It was with my family.
Oh, okay.
Because they were not... my sister actually converted with me, though.
Wow, really?
She didn't. She's not practicing anymore, but so her and I were able to do this together. So that was kind of cool. I know that she's been baptized.
That's really cool. Yeah.
But probably my family and this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think, weird for everybody. I still think that it's different for them. They don't like, my mom came up to visit and like, oh, Mike has to go to adoration. She's like, what
yeah
is that? So there's just a cultural shift that I had to make. And even still, like, it's different. I wasn't raised Catholic. I wasn't raised really any faith, so just trying to figure out how to be a mom and do all of the Catholic things, it's a shift.
Yeah. No, I know. I see some of these moms that, like, they do like, they celebrate the saint days and stuff and have, like, all of and that's awesome. I'm like, I want to be that someday.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I don't have the time for that. Are you kidding me? Like, I love these moms for doing that for their kids.
It's so cool.
I know. And I'm like, oh, man. Well, the best I could do is put up holy cards, and that's about
that's
it.
something.
I know. I'm like, okay, well, they'll say it all the time. But
that's something.
I love that these moms, they do, like, did you see the St. Lucy celebration where they had the little wreath? I'm like, that is so cool. I don't even know why they do it. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
We just celebrated St. Nicholas Day for the first time.
So did we, yeah.
Yes, it's amazing. I love it. And, I mean, the Catholic Church just has so many different traditions that we don't even know.
Exactly.
And so every time these moms are talking about it, I'm like, what is that? It's amazing to find out.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And I'm always like, oh, yeah, that sounds really awesome. And then I'm like, oh, it's today, and I didn't do anything to plan for it. So
same.
It's, I'm working on it.
I know.
We're trying.
That's all we can do is just keep working on it. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So you had mentioned that your kids are adopted.
They are, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. We adopted all three of them. It was actually through the county that we lived in, through their foster care system.
Okay.
And so we back up to before we got married. When my husband and I met, we were talking about, starting a family and all this stuff. And I had told him I would like to adopt. And he was kind of like, okay, that's like, where did that come from? So anyways, we went about, all this stuff. We met with the priest before we got married. And he had asked, are there any barriers for you to have children? And I said, well, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. My cycle's always been kind of wonky. And he's like, well, we'll cross that road when we get, we won't worry about that now. Okay. So we got married, and it just never worked. I mean, I did all these things, ovulation tests. I went to all the doctors. We did Clomid. We did all these medications, the metformin, all of these things for a time, like 4 years. I had some, I don't even remember the name of it. I think like hysteropingograph or something, where they put dye into your uterus and then they look to see if your fallopian tubes are blocked or not. And they weren't, but just all kinds, ran all these tests, all the blood work. Now looking back, I should have gone to a different doctor, but where we lived, we didn't have like a NAPRO doctor.
That's what I was going to ask, if you've seen like a NAPRO specialist.
No, or even like a functional medicine where they can kind of look, because now we've moved here and I see a functional medicine doctor, and she's now trying to look at my hormones, and she's like, well, they should have done all these things. I'm like, well,
Do you see him in Moscow?
No.
Oh, okay.
There's one in Hayden that I
go
to.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. We have we see a gal in Moscow.
Oh, okay.
And she is a functional medicine and NAPRO specialist.
Oh.
But we're seeing her for NFP stuff.
Okay.
And she's brilliant. I love her. I'm hoping to have her on here at some point.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, she probably knows that I'm talking about her because I sent her this podcast. But yeah, it's amazing the information that they have. I mean,
that's
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, we got the natural family planning book, right? And I had the thermometer and my chart and all of these things.
Oh, you did the thermometer one.
Well, that's what our church taught us, and that's all. I mean, I was 23 and we got married, and I was like, okay, we'll do what they told us, try to figure it out.
Oh, man.
And it didn't work. And then
did you try Creighton? Is that too personal to ask?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But honestly, and this maybe too, my cycle is so wonky. Like I couldn't even figure out. It just doesn't make any sense. I had to have a D&C because I would bleed for like 4 months. Like it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And everyone would say, try this. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do.
That makes sense.
So it just never, I don't know. But there was something else in our plans. Like I just,
And I'm glad you're seeing a functional medicine person. I mean, they have so much information, and NAPRO is just amazing.
Well, and she said, oh, do you want to try, are you trying to have a child now? And I'm like, well, no, I mean, if it happens, it happens. I don't, that would be great, but I don't know. Not yet. I'm going to be 40 in a couple of years. So I don't know. We'll see. And everyone would tell us, oh, once you adopt, you guys, you're going to have that stress taken off you. You are going to have all the kids. And we were like, well, maybe not. I mean, we don't know. So we had done all of this stuff, and then going to church, I always felt like, oh my gosh, people probably think I'm terrible Catholic. Like I've never had a child. I've not, or what they must, and I don't know. And it's my own insecurity, kind of having that pressure on myself and just going through all of this. And I don't know, but we had gone on to all these appointments and done all this stuff, and then they kept telling me, the only thing we can do to help you is go on birth control. I'm like, well, that's kind of not exactly what we're looking for, obviously, So I talked to my husband. We're going on like 4 years of this yo-yo, this emotional roller coaster, and throughout this time, we have family just having a child after, and it killed me. It was so hard. Obviously such a blessing, but so hard. And I told him, I'm like, I don't know how much longer I could do this. Like really, like I think we should have like a time. Like how long do we do this for? And he's like, I don't know that we can do that. I don't know. I said, okay, well, we'll see. So the next appointment I went to, she had given me like the highest dosage of Clomid, which is supposed to make you ovulate, right? The highest dosage possible. She's like, I can't do anything else for you. Here's your pamphlet to a fertility clinic. And I was like, okay, so I guess that's it, because
you can't do IVF.
Well, exactly. And everyone's like, oh, and this is kind of where it was difficult with my family, because they're like, well, why can't you do these things? What are you doing? What, don't you want to have a child? Like, well, yes, but I mean, we're not going to do things that go against our faith. So that was a big challenge, because everyone was coming out of the woodwork with their tips and tricks and whatever that we should be doing. But we ended up saying, well, maybe that's why adoption was in my heart. So we looked back, and I ended up going back to school, and I met this woman. She was one of my instructors, and she was talking about how she adopted some kids. And I was like, huh? So I talked to her after class one day, and she's like, we should have you over. And I said, okay. So we went over, and my husband at this point was kind of on the fence. He still was like, well, maybe this will work if we, we were praying. We prayed to St. Gerard. We prayed to St. Elizabeth. We did the St. Andrew Novena, right? All of these things. And we went over to their house for dinner. And it was so beautiful to see. And they talked about adoption openly, and they talked about how because we were like, well, what do we do? Do we want to do foster care? Do we want to do domestic? Do we want to do an international? And she's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, somewhere something has kind of gone off track, you know? It doesn't matter what route you take. And we were like, okay. So we left, and he was like, oh my gosh, like, that was not what I was expecting. Yeah. So then he's like, okay, we'll start doing these classes. And you had to do like 2 months worth of classes. They called them Pride. And I don't remember what it stood for. It was like something parenting, it's something education. I don't remember. And we had to go and take these classes for like 2 months, every weekend for 2 months. And they were like 8-hour classes.
Oh my gosh.
And we had to just do all of these things. And that was in March of 2012. And so it took about 9 months to kind of get through the interviews and the paperwork and everything. And they told us, you know, make sure like you prepare yourself for like a year, you know. We were pretty open with what we said that we would accept, because it's real weird, you know. You go down this list of things and basically like, will I accept a child like this or like that or like this or like that? So we really went into it. If we were to have a child of our own, could this be an issue? Well, most issues, you know, we could, but we didn't feel, in our social work, it didn't feel like we would have been able to handle like a medical, like a severe medical problem, you know, or healthcare needs. So we were just pretty open. We just wanted a child under 1. We said any ethnicity, just like basic health problems, like, you know, that we could have. It was real weird trying to like go through and kind of like pick a child. I don't know. That's kind of strange. Super weird.
I feel like that would be an uncomfortable experience, because you're like, well, my heart is open to all children, but like, if I'm going to, I don't know. I feel like I'd be really uncomfortable with like deciding, no, I don't really feel like we would have the capability to, you know, parent an autistic kid or a child with cerebral palsy, things like that.
Well, that's when we were like, well, if we had a child, could they have that? Probably. So, you know, we kind of put that on there for just because we didn't want to like try to play God, you know, and try to have
like one specific child in mind almost. Yeah. That's so crazy. Wow.
It was. So they said, okay, well, you know, babies are hard to come by, and we'll see what happens. And
why are babies hard to come by? Do you know?
Because everybody wants
I see.
A baby. Okay. Everyone wants the young ones. And then the older the children get, the longer they're in the system, the more trauma that they've experienced, the more emotional problems and things like that.
Yeah.
So people don't feel,
that's
I guess,
so
equipped,
sad.
You know? I mean, some people, obviously, that's their calling. They like to adopt the children who have been in the system longer and kind of give them a chance for stability and love. But anyways, it took about 9 months for us to get everything done, and our family is all excited, right? Oh, maybe we're gonna have some. This was in March when we started. Maybe by Christmas we'll have a new baby in the family by Christmas. And we're like, we'll see. I don't know. So we got an email. It was on January 7th of 2013. Oh, you're on the list. Everything's good. We're like, oh, awesome. Prepare to wait a year. We were like, okay. Ugh. And at this time, my husband was teaching a night class. He was still at the high school, but he was doing like an adult education class. And it was on Tuesday nights. And I would always talk to him before his class. Like, oh, yeah, have a good class. We'll see you later. And then while we're talking, I get a phone call from our social worker. And this was the next day, right? We just got put on the list. So she calls me. She's like, Deborah, are you sitting down? And I was like, what's happening? Like, what's happening? She's like, there was a baby boy born yesterday, and he has nobody to take care of him, and he needs someone to come get him. Oh. You guys can come tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh.
I was going to get all emotional, but it was so amazing.
Do you need tissue? I think I have tissue somewhere.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay.
But I was like, oh, my gosh. She's like, you have to tell me tonight what you want to do. I'm like, my husband is his class is going to start. So I'm like calling him. And then he finally like calls me back and I'm like, there's a baby for us. And he's like, what are you talking about? So the next day I go to work and I tell them I have to leave today. Like, I might be getting a baby today. Like, I don't even know. We had nothing because we had just been put on a list. And it was so crazy. We call everybody, right? I call that night. He's in his class. It was 3 hours. I called everybody. We're going to get a baby tomorrow. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, well, they have a car seat and we have clothes and we have this and we have that and da 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 da. So he ended up getting off work. We went on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And they're like, come at 3. So we went and they do this thing called a presentation meeting where they kind of like, this is the situation. This is what's going on, kind of like, and then do you want to do this or not? So they kind of gave the background and told us why they picked us, because we had only been on the list for a day. I mean, not even 24 hours, which is so crazy that he was born on the day we were like put on the list. I don't know.
That's
it's just
amazing.
So wild to me. And like looking back, it's like our path was like clearly lined. I don't know. But they said, okay, you have 30 minutes to decide if you want to do this or not. And go down. There was a Starbucks down the street. Go to the Starbucks and come back and tell us what you want to do. So we left and we called all of our family. We're like, we're getting a baby. We're going to do it. Yeah. And we actually went and sat at the Starbucks. And because of the circumstances of, we were like, we were going to change his name and all of these things. So we were like, what should we name him? That was what we spent our time at Starbucks. And after he got, like, that's where we picked your name. We went.
That's so amazing.
So, anyways, that like an hour later, we were driving over to the hospital and the people there were all like on guard, right? Like, who are you? Yeah. Why are you here? We're like, we're going to get to adopt a baby. And both of our moms drove up an hour because we lived an hour away from everybody. So they drove up an hour and went to the hospital, and the nurse wheeled him over to the little window and we got to see him. And it was just, I don't even, it's so crazy to think about how all this happened. But then they showed us how to change a diaper. We were sent home. My sister-in-law met us at the hospital so she could bring a car seat. Yeah. And so we could drive him home, and it was wild.
That's amazing.
And then that next day, our house was full of clothes and all kinds of things, but we were quite shocked.
Was he preemie or was he like on time?
He was 40. He was 39 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. But he hadn't really been held. So they're like, he needs to go home. Someone needs to hold him. So we brought him home.
So I don't know if this is like a question I guess you can answer. You can tell me if you can't or not. But like, was his mom, I guess, unable to take care of him? Or?
I don't know. He was safely surrendered. So she didn't have anything to do with him once he was born.
Okay, so she had kind of made that decision, I guess, like, I don't want him.
Yeah. So she had like social workers come and talk to her and stuff, and she said, no, I don't want to do this. So, yeah.
God bless her for not aborting him, though.
Oh, I know.
Man.
I know.
But still, that must have just...
Well, and again, like, nothing about adoption is really pretty,
easy.
You know?
Yeah.
And our kids now are old enough that we're getting questions, and so trying to navigate that is definitely interesting.
Does she, like, could he have, I guess, could he find her and, like, make contact with her, or?
He probably could, yeah.
Okay. Does he feel like a desire to, do you think?
Not right now. It's funny because they told us when we did all those classes, they're like, girls are the ones, excuse me, that have the questions. And he never really has asked a lot of questions. We've not kept it a secret. We have a lot of books about, there's one, it's called God Found Us You, and it's just the sweetest, and it does paint it in a very cute picture. And there's some people who say, oh, you know, they should be with their birth parents. Well, obviously in an ideal world, but this book is just really special, and it talks about it's just really special. If you ever are at a bookstore, you should look at it. It's real sweet. We've always read these books to him, and talked kind of about it, and then he's just like, okay, and he's off
kind of
running.
accepting it.
But our daughter now is she's almost 8, and she's like, so I have 2 moms and I have 2 dads. We're like, yes, you have a birth mother, which a lot of people, I mean, that's, I think, the preferred term for adoptive family, birth parents, not real parents or whatever, right?
Right.
Well, you have a birth mother, and then you have us. You have, you know, your birth parents, and then us, and we've been taking care of you. And she's like, okay. So
how did you guys find your other 2 kids?
So then we decided to go back through the county again.
Okay.
And because everything went well, we really liked our social workers. We really liked, and then also through the county, we did not have to pay for anything. Nice. And we did not feel like pain was something that we wanted to do for a child. And I know there's probably a lot of people who have different, you know, thoughts on that. But it can be very expensive, you know?
Right.
But this, through the county, it was free. So I don't know if that is the case here in Idaho, but that's what it was in
I've never looked into it. Yeah, I'm not sure. So did you guys have to take those classes all over again?
Your certification is good, I think, for like 5 years.
Okay, I see.
So we did that. So we adopted all of them within those 5 years.
Wow.
So they're all like 2 years apart from each other, or the girls are 18 months. So then we did this again, and our middle daughter, she was 3 months old when we were placed with her. It was a little different circumstances. She was in a foster home, and I think it was her second foster home. So she had a hard time adjusting. She had some stomach issues and things, and But we got her, and then I'll tell you a fun little story after this. And then our last daughter, she was 10 months old, almost 11 months, and she had the hardest time. We were her 4th home
in 10 months.
Yeah, in 10 months.
Oh, poor baby.
So she had a hard time adjusting. We worked a lot with her on bonding and stuff, but she's doing so good now. She's really overcome a lot. She's
6, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's turned 6 in December.
Oh,
yeah. So
wow.
But what's funny about all of this is everything is different, right? Like with the timelines and the legal background and whatever. So we finalized our son's adoption. It was on November 1st.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, so we did that. And then when we're going to finalize our second adoption, we were talking, and it was going to be around the same time. And we were like, oh, I wonder if they could have the same day.
Adoption day?
Yeah. So they said yes. So then both the kids have the same day that we finalized their adoption.
Oh, that is so cool.
Then the third one came, and we were able to finalize hers on the same day too. So they all have the same day, November 1st.
That is amazing. So do you guys have like a big celebration that day?
We don't really. We don't want, some people call it like a gotcha day or something. And we don't. We call it our family day, and it's all Saints Day, so it's like kind of
that is so cool,
special. Or yeah. So
yes, that is. I always get them
mixed up too.
Yeah,
so All Saints and then All Souls is
the second. I think.
Yeah. So
that is so cool.
So we always would go because the courthouse was like an hour from our house. So then we would go and like do like a fun thing, like a little trampoline park or something. I don't know. I mean, and then go to mass because.
Oh, that is so awesome! Yeah. Wow. So do they don't come from the same biological mom, right?
No, there's no biological relation with any of them.
Okay. But they're still close, like they still, like, do they still feel, I guess maybe this is like an ignorant question, but like they still feel like brothers and sisters?
Oh, yeah.
Like they wouldn't care?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and the girls, they our middle daughter. So when we did all of this, we had to put together, each time we had to put together like a book. So we had to put together a book, like, oh, here's what we do for birthdays, and like pictures, and kind of to show our family and do all this stuff. And they saw our middle girl, and our youngest kind of looks like her. And so they said, oh, they look alike, we'll pick this family. So they look alike, and people think that they're twins, actually, because
really, wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
It's really funny.
So what made you guys decide to go forward with a second and a third adoption?
I wanted to fill a pew.
Yeah.
I wanted to have, a lot of kids in our situation. We thought about doing it a fourth time, but at that point the kids were older, and it's so disruptive to your life to have these people come and investigate you. They really dive deep into every aspect of your life, and so we didn't really want to continue that with all the kids. And the risk is kind of high, if you're placed with a child and then it falls through. We could have done that on our own, I think, but we didn't want to put the kids through that on top of trauma that they already had. So.
Right. So for anybody that is, I guess, tossing around the idea of adoption, so like Teddy and I we had talked about it too, especially since we can't have any more kids after Finnegan. Should we adopt later on? And I think we've decided, for now at least, like, we're not really open to that. We think it might be nice to, I don't know, we feel good with, just the two right now.
Right.
Maybe God someday will put that on our hearts to adopt eventually. So, like, let's say that we do decide to do that. What would be, I guess, the steps and the things to look out for, and like the pros and cons of it, I guess?
The pros, find somewhere that I think has a lot of support, can answer your questions, obviously. I think it's different here. I don't know that it's, I think maybe through the county. I know that there's some foster agencies that do adoption, and we didn't do that, so I'm not quite sure how that would work. The cons is just the unknown. Again, it was scary all 3 times that something could fall through. They look into background of the family, and could someone step forward and decide to take the child on, so it was a lot until we got to, like, I think it was like called a 2-6 hearing. I don't remember all the legal terminology, but once you got to a certain point, then you were like, good. But it's that would be the con. There's a lot of unknowns, and so, it's risky. Yeah.
So your family was, like, generally supportive of it, right?
Yeah, they were.
So, like, for a family that, was it scary for your family to, like?
I don't know. No one expressed that really to us. I think we had been through so much. No one really said anything. Everyone, honestly, our family is just really amazing. Yeah. They just kind of, and that was my fear, right? Like, will they love our children the same as they love the other children? And they do. And it's just so beautiful. And our sisters and brothers and everybody has just really been pretty good at accepting them, and they were all excited when we decided to do this, because they knew that we had been trying for so long.
And I'd imagine that was a really helpful thing, that your family was really supportive too.
Oh yeah. It was hard though. Especially with our oldest, we had no time to prepare, and I tell you, I did not have hormones because I obviously did not deliver him. Yeah. But I had some struggles. It was like really about 9 months, I think, 9-10 months till I had wrapped my mind around like where this child came from and like what just happened to me, because it just was out of nowhere, you know. It was really,
well, how was that,
it was
like,
hard.
how was that adjustment period then?
I cried so much. It was really, really hard. It was very challenging.
Yeah. Well, to go from like a day where, I mean, I can't imagine, because it's like you go from a day where you're just like, okay, I can sleep through the night, to like, you know, however many years you're not sleeping through the night, you know. So
no,
wow,
it was hard
overnight like that. That's so crazy.
Yeah, there was no prep. I felt like we were always behind. I mean, like, he didn't have a nursery for long, or a bedroom even.
Yeah.
His room was like kind of full of trash bags of clothes that people had brought over to us for.
I mean, Gianna and Finnegan's is still, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was
that's a perfect way to describe it. It sounds like that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's real funny. We had this, and I don't know, and maybe this was just me and this woman, because we were going through a similar thing, but we, you know, you see people at church.
Yeah.
You see them get married, and then you see them, you know, start their family. Mm-hmm. And we had been married for 4 years and no children, and there was another couple there, and she was always like looking at me and smiling at me, and I was like, why is this lady smiling at me? Like, California, we don't really do, you know, like, I don't know. And I was always like, why is she smiling at me? I don't know, but I would smile back at her, and we never really talked. And then we got our son, and the first time we took him to church, we were out in the courtyard, and she came up to us and she was crying. Oh. And they had also been dealing with infertility for a few years.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, it was like a thing, like we were kind of focused on each other, right? Because we had seen the ring appear and no baby for a long time. And they ended up adopting a couple children too.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was really special.
So you guys still friends then?
They actually moved to Texas, but we're still in touch with
them.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was nice to have some friends that were adopted and also Catholic. So
yeah, that is awesome. There's a few families up here that have adopted kids, actually.
Yeah.
So have you connected with them at all?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just love stories about people that adopt, and like I had friends growing up that their family had adopted from Ethiopia, which was really cool. And they had traveled to Ethiopia to meet them, and I mean, they still remembered their parents in Ethiopia, the kids.
Oh, okay.
But it just always was just so cool to meet people that could open their heart like that. And I mean, was it hard to, at least, like, at first, even?
At first, a little bit, I guess. I mean, just because I was afraid, like, you know, you have a wall up, like, how much should you get attached? How much? But then it's like, I was always struggling, like, well, right now I am his mom, or right now I am her mom. So should I put a wall up, or should I just kind of put myself at risk? You know, like, there was always kind of that struggle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
and then once the adoption is finalized, then even if like a family member came out,
no, they're done. Yeah.
So was it a 6-month waiting period to adopt? Like, you guys had a trial, I guess. Is that kind of so, like, because you guys met him on January 8th, right?
The 9th.
Or the 9th.
Yeah, he was 2 days old when we brought him home.
Okay, yeah. So, and then he was officially adopted on November 1st.
Yeah.
So what was the reason for the gap?
That's just how long it takes. I mean,
really?
Yeah, that's just kind of standard. And I think now things with COVID are like super weird and the time is long. But yeah, that's kind of standard. And his was pretty cut and dry because of the circumstances with a safe surrendered baby. The biological parents, they receive like a bracelet or something. I don't know what it looks like, but they receive some sort of identification where they have 14 days to change their mind. So they have this, whatever, they can come back and say, I changed my mind, and they could then get their child back. But after jumping through some legal things, because then they abandoned their baby. So there's some other stuff to go on.
Yeah.
So that his was pretty cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, it was just they had to go to court and they have to put paperwork together, and so it was actually really fast. Actually, the 10 months.
So with your other kiddos, was it about the same time frame, or was it a little? It was
about a year for both of them. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that was because I kind of pushed, especially with the last one. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we need her to also be on November 1st. So can you please put the gas on here?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is so cool.
So she ended up, I think she was new, and I so I think she was kind of struggling with the workload, but I was like, please
this is very important.
Yeah. Well, because it was going to be like a week later, and I'm like, how
so close.
Yeah. So she made it work, but that was because we
what a rock star
requested. Yeah.
That is so
multiple
awesome.
times. Yeah.
Wow.
It was so cool when we went to, because it's in the courthouse, and for our son, we had so many people that came, and they were like, we never had this many people in here before. It was so cool. It was really cool.
That is so awesome. So they do like a little ceremony, or
it's like we had to swear on the Bible and answer some questions. I don't remember, like things like do you promise to treat this child as if they were your own blood? Yes. Do you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
wow, that is amazing.
And then it's like 3 minutes. It's not long at all. It's like, you are now the legal parents or something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
It was.
That is really cool. Wow, that is so awesome.
And then they redo the birth certificate. So my husband and I are on the birth certificate as parents.
Wow. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. So like, let's say that there were people that were like opposed to adoption or something, like they didn't want to
like for themselves to
take the risk, or just even in general, like why would people want to like take on the burden of a child that isn't their own, or something like that? Like people that maybe are against I don't know, the fear of like the only thing I can think of, like, have you ever seen Anne of Green Gables before?
Yes.
So like how people were like, oh, this one kid burned down the house or whatever, and like people were telling them like, don't adopt because adopted kids are crazy, which they're not. But
no, yeah.
Like, what would you say to those people, I guess?
Well, it's really sad. Like these poor little kids have gone through so much, and sometimes they're acting out because of what they've gone through. Yeah, it's not like there's something inherently wrong with them. They've been through some stuff, so
more than the average bear.
Oh yeah. So just to keep that in mind. I mean, I don't think that it's for everybody. I mean, I don't know. It is a challenge. There's a lot of things that kind of consider your family and what you can handle and things, but if you can, it's really beautiful. I mean, I look at our family, typical family is like 2 people, made this family, and ours was like 2, 4, 6, and then plus all of our social, I mean, there was like a good 20, 30 people involved in creating our family, and it just kind of blows my mind sometimes that we are even here with 3 kids, because I don't know.
Well, and it's just like, I see you, and I just think it's amazing, that all of these pieces came together, and like God put you guys together. Like especially that story about your son. I mean, literally tailor-made for you guys. That's crazy. I mean, that's even more significant than like having a biological kid almost, like I see that and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's miraculous.
It's really wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I mean, both are like, they're different, having a biological child and having an adopted child is different, but I mean, that is just amazing that you guys open your heart like that. You guys had to like completely change your life overnight. Like, oh my,
that's crazy.
That is so
and
crazy.
It's so funny because we used to go traveling, like, because my husband's a teacher, and we were able to take that Christmas break, and so we would always go, and we saw all the missions in California. So like we would try and go to the next mission. So we were in Santa Barbara actually. The Christmas break before our son was born, and we went and checked into our hotel, and they were like, we have this upgrade that we'll give to you for free or whatever, and we were like, we'll take it. And it was so perfect.
Yeah.
And then we looked back and we were like, oh my goodness, like that was like our little R&R, and we didn't even know that we
last hurrah. Yeah.
So it was
that is amazing.
But
dang. So and you guys traveled during COVID with your kids too.
Yeah.
How was that for them to have that time?
Oh, we travel kind of a lot. I mean, we haven't really since we've been here because everything we could want is here. So we haven't really. When our son came into our life, we had already bought tickets to go meet up with some friends in New York. So he was 5 months and he went to New York.
Wow.
It was so
New York is crazy.
It was wild. Yeah. But it was we had some friends in Switzerland that we were going to meet. So it was a big trip that we were kind of planning to go do. And so,
have you guys ever gone out of the country before?
Not with the kids. Well, no, not with the kids. No.
Teddy and I have said we want to take the kids to Italy someday.
That is a goal. Yeah. We actually have some family in Italy right now.
Really?
And my kids are like, oh, I want to go and eat yeah. So that is a goal one day.
It's so, well, and we're going to homeschool our kids, and I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be so amazing because we can like teach them about world history,
the most epic history lessons,
right? Yeah, there, and I get so jealous of European people because I'm like, you are literally a drive away from a 1,000-year-old building. Right. Like the oldest building we have here is like in the 1600s, right. So it's at least in like the East, right? But man, that'd be so cool. Yeah. Well, that's so cool that you guys can travel. I mean. Yeah. New York, wow. So have you guys ever thought of going back to New York to visit or?
No.
Don't.
No.
Do not do it. We went for our honeymoon in 2020, right before the election.
Okay.
And it was like a dystopian nightmare. It was crazy. There was like propaganda everywhere. It was disgusting, and it smelled like poop everywhere because of the sewers and stuff. And the Broadway wasn't even open. Like, I wanted to go see Hamilton. Couldn't see Hamilton. And like Times Square was empty.
That's weird.
There was nobody there.
It was
bizarre.
Picture of him in his stroller in Times Square in the middle of the, like, because he was off with the time, right?
Yeah.
It's a funny picture.
That is so cool. Wow, that is amazing. Where else have you guys traveled?
We did a big Southwest road trip.
Nice.
We kind of went to Utah and did all the national parks and did like a big loop. We only had 2 kids for that one. And then we took them to Florida. Well, still only had 2 kids for that one. Our youngest, the biggest trip she had been on was this one during COVID. Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. And you guys had like an RV, or did you guys just do a car?
No, just our van.
You guys are very brave.
That's what we heard a lot. I mean, it was crazy. It was not easy. I changed some diarrhea diapers on the sidewalk because we couldn't find bathrooms that would have changed it, whatever.
I hate those.
Got pooped on a plane, things like that. Yeah. Were fun, but yeah.
Wow.
We haven't really, like I said, though, we haven't done a lot since we've been here. It's there's too many things to go do.
It's
too
amazing.
Many lakes, too many rivers, too much stuff to go see. Oh man,
I know. And have you guys been to Glacier before?
We went last summer.
You did?
Yeah,
I've never been.
Oh,
I've lived here almost my whole life, and I've never been.
It was nice. We weren't there for a super long time, and they're doing all this weird stuff with like reservations and stuff now, and you like passes to get on. I mean, it's
that's weird.
But we were able to go. We were only there for a couple days.
Have you been to Sandpoint?
We have, yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. We went to Priest Lake last summer.
Oh, okay.
Too.
Yeah. Priest Lake is cool. I'm trying to think if there's any. Have you been to Cataldo before?
Yeah.
That's like my favorite place up here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We did that on one of our trips when we came up and visited.
Oh,
so
you
not
did?
Since we've moved, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and like the you can see handprints on the walls.
I don't know if I remember that.
Yeah, so like because they used mud. and they you can see like it's kind of hard to see, but you can see handprints of the kids that help put the mud on the walls.
That's so cool.
And like, did you see the informational video and stuff with it?
Yes.
Yeah. So like the ceiling is painted with blackberries, and like when I was growing up here, I went to a Catholic school for like a few years, and they had a person dress up as a priest, like Father Deschmidt.
Okay.
And he like explained Cataldo.
Okay.
And I was freaked out by it. I was like, a ghost, and because I had never seen a priest in like a full cassock,
right.
you know, like long. And now I have, of course, like with Latin Mass and stuff. But
right.
it was cool. It was a really cool experience. So it's cool that your kids are going to be able to grow up with that and see it. And
yeah,
this area is just amazing.
It's just really unbelievable. I don't know, like the beauty, and it's just too much.
It's a little bubble.
Everyone's like, when are you going to come back and visit? Like,
in California.
Yeah.
Tell them to come up here.
Well, they all have, so now we have to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're going to try and go back this summer to
nice.
visit, but I'm like, we're going to miss out, though, like in lake days, and
I know. I haven't been back to California in 4 years, I think. Something
you
like
lived there
that.
for a little while, yeah?
Yeah, so I was born there.
Okay.
And I don't like telling people that.
In Camarillo? Is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah. And then my family lives in like Huntington Beach area.
Okay.
So we used to go down pretty frequently when I was younger to visit my grandparents. And we'd go to Disneyland and stuff. And now that I'm an adult, I hate it.
Yeah.
So much, because you're driving down the freeway and there's like porn everywhere, you know, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like a culture shock almost.
It is, for
when
sure.
you see it, you know, and
it is.
like I didn't understand it back then, you know. When I was young, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Right.
There's like Japanese stores everywhere, and there's like all these different cultural things. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like,
and you have kids, it changes everything.
Less. Yeah. We haven't even brought them down there, and I don't even know if I want to, because it's just like so crazy.
It's a wild place. We've gone back a couple times, not for anything fun. I mean, we had to go for some funerals, but it's just, I don't know. It's too much. Too much traffic. Too many people. Too busy. I'm like, how did we survive this for so long?
I know.
I don't know.
It's just crazy going. Like
the natural beauty there is nice too. If you know kind of zoom out, but
if you can find it.
Well, that
yeah. I mean, they do have some really pretty places though.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think going back to like a big city is crazy, you know, because for me when I was growing up, Spokane was a big city,
right?
You know, and then you go to LA and you're like, I don't know what
LA
to do.
So much. I've never been a city girl, and I'm always like, oh, my sister lived in LA for the longest time, so we would have to go there to visit her, and I was like, why? I don't understand. Why?
Well, and I see people like the TikToks and stuff, and like there's so many influencers and like celebrities that live in LA, and I'm like, no wonder it's crap.
Right.
You know, I mean, people are trying to make their big break, and it's like it just but then it's crazy, because when you go out, I had only been there once, and I was shocked, because there's like the city portion, and then there's like the slums on the outside.
Yeah.
And like people would they would like their territory was like the lights, the lamp posts, you know, on the street, and there'd be like trash all around it. There was like, I'm sure, poop everywhere. Like it was just I couldn't believe it, you know. And
like it's just terrible.
Yeah. And I mean, so Teddy and I were driving, and there was this guy, and I will always remember this man. I will pray for him always. He had this box, like a cardboard box, and it was his home.
Oh yeah. But
he was sweeping outside of it as if it was like a house, you know. He was like he had pride in his little box house, you know. But it was just so funny that like he just loved this little house so much, and he like was making sure it was clean outside. But no, it was like a huge culture shock to see that. It's
so heartbreaking, you know. People should not be.
Well, you see this like luxury on the inside, and then on the outside there are people starving to death, and like living in filth, and
it's quite a striking juxtaposition.
Right. Well, and especially up here, I mean, you don't see that ever, you know? So going in there, I'm like, what is going on? Why are there not people giving food to these people, or like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there are, but like at the time that we were driving through, I'm like, this is crazy that people are living like this.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, man, wow. Well, I'm glad you guys moved up here.
I am too.
It's amazing.
It's so nice. We're trying to get our family. Please come. Please get out of California.
Yeah, please come. I've never met you. Please come.
Yeah.
I'm going to start being like Matt Fradd, you know, with Steubenville. Yeah, move to Steubenville. Yeah. We actually thought about moving to Steubenville.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you been there?
No.
Okay.
We just heard it from Matt Fradd. And then we're like,
we will do it.
Yeah, but then we're like, no. Like, it was kind of more of a joke, you know? And then we're like, this place is so amazing. Like, I don't think we could ever leave.
Well, we tried Texas. That was one of our places. Did you? And we were like, we need to go somewhere during like the worst time of year, right?
The worst season.
Yes. So we went to Texas. I believe it was in August.
Ugh.
And it was so miserable. I was like, nope, cross this off. There's no way I'm going to live in through this heat and humidity. It was just too much.
I feel you. I hate the heat. I hate it with a burning passion.
So does my husband.
Which is ironic.
We lived in the desert in California, and we were like, we don't want... It was like, you know, it would get up to like 115.
Yeah.
We were like, no, we don't want to do that anymore.
Ugh.
So
we drove through Arizona one time, and it was so hot that our flip-flops were getting stuck on the pavement.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm like, I will literally die if I live here. Like, why would people ever want to live there?
Yeah.
And I like have friends in Arizona, and they're fine. I mean, they have AC and stuff, and I'm like,
but they don't go outside, right? Like, they're like,
I have no idea. They probably tan. For me, I'm like, I stay inside always.
Yeah, it's not
I like the winter. I'm kind of like a basic white girl when I'm like, I like fall, because it's like the perfect medium, you know, in like spring too. And I just like, I love the cold. I could live in the cold, you know.
I was afraid of it, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
We were gonna come up before we moved to check out a winter, just to kind of see, and that didn't end up working out, but we said, okay, we are gonna just do it and see what happens.
How has it been over the past few years?
It's not been as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
That's because these are not bad winters.
Yeah, it's not really that bad.
Yeah.
The cold, I don't like the ice. I don't think anyone likes the ice.
Yeah.
So when it gets like frozen, like the road, I don't really care for that, but
yeah,
I just don't go anywhere.
Well, so I remember when I was growing up, like, I don't believe in like climate change or whatever, you know, that it's as crazy as they say.
Right.
I kind of believe in it, like, from the past few years, because the winters have been so mild comparatively to like winters in the past.
Okay.
Like, I remember I was like 10 years old, and we had so much snow in our driveway that I could literally dig a maze, and it was like up to my shoulders.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, I was 10.
Right.
But I wasn't much shorter than how I am now, you know? So it was like, it probably would be to like my mid waist, like right here.
Okay.
But still, that's how much we had. And our neighbor had an ATV, and his ATV got stuck because there was so much snow.
Is that the big storm? What was it, like in 2008?
Yeah.
Or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So all winters after that have been mild.
Okay.
For everybody. We're like, this is pretty decent, you know?
It's, yeah, not that bad.
Yeah. It's pretty nice, actually.
Our son loves to shovel snow.
Good for him.
He loves it.
He can start a little business, maybe.
That is his goal. He tried to build a little cart to
really
carry his stuff around. I mean, it didn't work, but
he'd get a lot of money, I bet.
He would love to do that.
That would be so cool. So does he have any like aspirations of like what he wants to do? And I mean, he's only 10, so it's like he has time.
He wants to do everything. Every time we do anything, he's like, I want to do this. I want to do that. He wanted to be a mailman for like 5-6 years.
That's cool.
And then we just went with the homeschool group the other day to the post office tour.
Oh.
So then he was like, I want to work here. Okay. It was, yeah. Everything we go, he's just so like, oh, this is awesome. I want to do it. They're building some, new houses across the street, and I want to be a forklift driver, or not a forklift, like a bulldozer. I want to drive. I want to drive all these, a digger. I want to do this. I want to do. So he's just kind of all over. He
That's
wants
so cute.
to do all the things.
What about your girls?
Well, our daughter wants to be a mom.
Aw.
And she just also said she wants to be a bird scientist.
Oh, cool.
So, I don't know.
What is that called again? Ornithologist?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, she's funny.
Well, she has plenty of birds up here.
Oh, yeah.
They do the eagle tours.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever done that before?
We did. Yeah. We also went with the homeschool group in
That is so
December. It was
cool.
really awesome.
Yeah.
Super
That's
cool.
really cool. And then I'm trying to think if they do anything else. Not that I remember, but you can like go on like a boat. You can like rent a boat.
Okay.
And there's osprey everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never done that. Okay,
it's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, just driving on Lake Coeur d'Alene.
Okay.
They're just everywhere.
It's just so, I mean, we had some birds obviously in California, but we didn't have like any variety. I think we had a lot of ravens.
Yeah.
And I mean sparrows, but
there's a game that you guys should play called Wingspan.
We have it.
Oh yeah, so
we have it.
My parents have it, and I love that game so much.
Gosh. My husband loves birds, so I think that's where our daughter likes. But she has binoculars, and it's hilarious. She will push the blinds up in her room, and she'll sit there with her binoculars to look at birds. And but it's so funny because our neighbors probably think she's like spying on them, not looking at birds.
That's amazing.
So funny. She loves it.
That's so cute. And then your other daughter's 6, so like, does she have any?
She is obsessed with cars. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, I don't know. She loves cars. Everyone buys her cars.
That's cool.
For her birthday, she's got like, I don't know, 100 Hot Wheels, and she lines them up, and she knows, and we drive around, I have a car like that, and I have a car. She loves cars. I don't know.
That is so
It's
cool.
hilarious.
That is, you know what? That would be so cool if she became like a mechanic or something. Because people never expect women to be mechanics.
Well, that is true, yeah.
I've always kind of felt a desire to be a mechanic.
And she, it's funny. She's like, what does she say? Well, she's obsessed with Jeeps, first of all.
Oh, nice.
She loves Jeeps. I don't know where she came up with this. I mean, I'm not a big car person either as my husband, so I don't know.
Have you ever been to Coeur d'Alene?
We have not.
Okay. You guys must do that with her.
She will lose her mind, I'm sure.
She totally will, because she will have a million Hot Wheels of those cars. Yeah. And I think they do sell Hot Wheels at the Coeur d'Alene.
Really?
Yeah, so it's on Father's Day weekend.
Okay.
And everybody in the area that has like an antique or like a classic car,
okay,
they drive their cars down Sherman, and then they park them, and people can come and tour and look at the cars.
Oh, no, she would lose her mind. She would love it so much.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
They had the Flintstone car there one time.
Oh, really?
Yes. Someone made a Flintstone car, and I was like, that's amazing. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I had a gal that I went to school with, and she refurbished, I can't remember what kind of car it was, but she was like the youngest person that had refurbished a car at Coeur d'Alene. And it was a beautiful car.
Oh, really?
It was so cool, yeah.
Oh, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I think we were going to try to go, and then we were like we weren't here. I don't know. But we'll have to
definitely this year. I think it's in June. It's definitely it is every year Father's Day weekend.
Okay.
So definitely check that out.
That's really cool. You wanted to be a mechanic? Is that what you said?
I think it would be cool to be a mechanic. Maybe it's because I've had so many car issues. I'm like, I just want to learn it myself.
Right.
Now we have a new car, so it's like we don't have any like maintenance or anything. But
having a skill you can help yourself out with is kind of a big deal.
I know. I'm like, man, I've always felt like, it's not very feminine to be a mechanic. And I'm like, now I'm like, screw it. I want to be a mechanic. Yeah. So maybe someday after the kids are grown up, I'll go to mechanic school or something.
There's a good program up in Rathdrum.
Yeah. Maybe I'll see your daughter there.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll be in the same class. That'd be so cool.
Like, I talked to your mom about this.
Yeah. 20 years ago. That was so cool. Funny. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
One thing I always like to ask is, did you become more like your mom when you became a mom?
I was thinking about this question before I came.
Yeah.
And yes and no, I guess.
That's been the general consensus from a lot of people. Yeah, so in what ways have you become like your mom?
My mom was she was a character. So she would always sing and do silly things, and I do that with my kids, and my son's always like, that's just like Grammy.
No. Like, that's what my daughter calls my mom.
Oh, really? Yeah. So there's that, but I also thought I had more patience than I actually do. And so then in that sense, I think I take after my dad a little bit.
Yeah.
Something I'm working on.
I think we're all working on that patience thing. So, woof.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, wow. Well, thanks. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, definitely. I know. We just met, like, what?
Hour and a half
2 hours ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah. So let's say a prayer for moms.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. All right. Thanks for having me. See you later.
Bye.
Oops. There we go.